When I decided to redo this review, I was determined to give the game a second chance. After all, I didn't enjoy the Fellowship of the Ring until my second viewing, so I do know the value of giving things a second chance. I figured I may have been a little too harsh on the game last time, and maybe, going in with full knowledge of what happened and with almost 5 years to reflect, I might actually be able to enjoy the game better this time. Even if the gameplay wasn't a major step down from the PS2 entries, the overwhelmingly poor quality of the story would have completely ruined the experience. Even leaving out the horrendous lack of consistency with the previous games, the story is rife with poorly thought out plot points, completely illogical character actions, and centres on a contrived mystery that no rational human being would ever cause for how unnatural and vague such a statement would be to hinge a grand world-altering scheme on. It is offensive, and it is a massive waste of potential. The whole alternate timeline thing was a great opportunity to shake things up, but the developers had things stick too closely to the original timeline, even if the context is altered or there was a great excuse to change things. Cabal didn't need to get burned this time around, but he does, and clearly at the hands of someone different. And likewise, Sub-Zero didn't have to become noob either. The developers even stated before the game came out that the Sub-Zero featured in the game was the original, not the younger, implying that he wouldn't die and could maybe team up with Smoke to save his brother in a kind of inverted parallel to the original timeline. And the fact that they used the primary Sub-Zero costume in Quan Chi's false vision seems to support the idea that this was indeed the case, but they changed their minds during development. Well, either that or nobody was paying attention. When I released the original review back in 2012, in addition to the nothing argument of, I assume you can't do better and therefore your critique is invalid, one of the most common responses I received was, why do you expect a good story in a fighting game, or the story doesn't matter in fighting games, or even, the series is unrealistic and therefore doesn't need to be logical. Listen, you ignorant buffoons, no matter the medium, no matter the genre, story is a key component. Yes, in some instances the story isn't as important as gameplay or spectacle, but story contextualizes everything else. If story didn't matter, why would the reboot have been based around a canonical event rather than simply jumping ship to a new universe? Why would they have put in those little Easter eggs like the Tundra bit? Why would they have created an entire 16 chapter story mode with fully voiced and mocap cutscenes with some of the best voice talent in the business? I'll tell you why. It's because story does matter. Even though I believe the writers fucked up at almost every turn, I do at least give them credit for trying to not only tell a compelling story, but to include the full cast with some character development and good character moments, unlike the bare bones output of Namco or Capcom, and make sure it's simple to follow, unlike the inane drivel Arc System Works comes out with. Story matters, whether it be in Metal Gear or Call of Duty, The Walking Dead or Halo, Final Fantasy or Mortal Kombat. Don't just accept bad stories and say, well, what did you expect? With a 20-year-long franchise, I expect a hell of a lot better than this, and I am not being unreasonable to expect that much. There was a time when MK was my favourite thing in the world. I loved the characters, the story, the gameplay, the creativity, but after this complete train wreck of a game that I have fully experienced twice now, I can definitively say that not only is Mortal Kombat 2011 a bad game, but it is offensive to me as a long-time fan. It completely wiped out the previous entries, making all the time and money I spent on the series, learning all the stories and motivations of the cast, a complete waste of time. Those versions of the characters will never come back. They've been replaced by newer, vastly inferior versions, and for what? To make things simple for the fucking plebs that don't know how to use Wikipedia? This is a DC reboot in all but name, and I truly sympathise with those that have to endure that shit on a regular basis. There was so much great storytelling in the past, quests for revenge and redemption, multiple allegiances, manipulation and subterfuge, a vast universe and a colourful and interesting cast of over 60 characters. But now everything is horribly grim, the characters have considerably less dimension to their stories, and the plot is simplified to just 2 or 3 factions. The Mortal Kombat I fell in love with is gone forever, and left in its place is a definitively inferior version with no depth or joy to be found. That, my friends, that is why I hate Mortal Kombat 2011.